Gojira. You know, it's so sad that a lot of people are looking at Gojira's presentation and they think it's satanic. And I'm like, oh god, I get why it's happening. I really do. But they were literally the only people on that stage which were promoting French nationalism. Like their song actually had to do with French nationalism. Now, I do understand that heavy metal is not for everyone, so it does scare grandma. And also the fact that it was presented after all the actual satanic imagery. And we're going to say why they were satanic. It's kind of lost in context. Now, the reason why I say satanic imagery. First of all, you do not get to make a mockery of the Last Supper. Like, what do you think people will say? Like, put yourself into the shoes of a person that genuinely believes that God is real. Okay? Like, genuinely believes that God is real. And you are showing them a mockery of the Last Supper. Now, what's interesting is that the media showed us, and they were very proud to point out, that the person who organized this was Jewish. So how the fuck is it not a hate crime? How the fuck is, like, mocking and ridiculing another religion anything but a hate crime? Why is the ADL not concerned that this is going to spark some level of anti-Semitism? Like this is so blatant. Like, if a Christian would have done this, you know, if they would have done this to the Torah, or if they would have done this to a rabbi, or if they would have done this to a Muslim, it would have been considered a hate crime. But actually, you know what? No, it's fine. It's fine, because it's France. No, hold on. My bad, right? Like, if it was Germany, it would have been a different conversation. But it's France. They're a secular country. They had the Charlie Hebdo shit, so they do have free speech. But the left was livid. The left was furious. They were fuming when the Charlie Hebdo cartoons were drawn, right? They weren't fuming at the actual attack. They were fuming mainly because the cartoons were drawn. Where the fuck are you leftists now? Where are you? I'm an atheist. I don't believe in Jesus. But I do think it's bad form to actually go to the Olympics, worldwide event, present France to the national world, and show that you're willing to shit on the religion of more than 2 billion people. And you're not shitting like in a clever way, you're not shitting in a subtle way, it's not like political commentary, no, it's just malice and spite. You literally had the guy, and I can't show you any picture because they're even ashamed now. Like, they're actually taking down the videos. But you had a person with its ball sacks hanging out. I don't even know why YouTube didn't strike that shit. No, seriously, like, think about it. If I get a person with a ball sack hanging out and next to them is a Chinese child, I would get my video struck down. I would probably get my channel terminated. But because it's the Olympics, oh, it gets a fucking pass. I don't even know if you guys are aware that this happened. I can't show it to you on YouTube, but you can see it on Twitter. And I'm pretty sure some news articles also showed it. I don't even know why that guy has his ball sack showing. Is it a wardrobe malfunction? Is it something like that? I don't know. But no, like, seriously, there is a person dressed in drag, and their nutsack is being exposed. And next to them is a Chinese child. This is during the Last Supper event at the Olympics. How did that get a pass? How like did no one notice? It's not like some friends that are taking a selfie. Like, this is an organized event. They probably had to perform it before. They probably had to examine the wardrobe. The guy himself doesn't realize that this is happening? Say, again, like, this is on mainstream. This is on television. It was broadcasted all around the fucking world. How much of this is people trying to change the culture, humiliation, blah, blah, blah? Well, the thing is, like, Emmanuel Macron is actually very happy with how this went. He's actually shaking hands, and, you know, and again, it reminded me of the quartering when Dr. Disrespect posted his apology, and Dr. Disrespect is like, okay, so while on Twitch, I may have spoken with a minor, but, like, nothing illegal happened, and sometimes it may have leaned into the inappropriate, but that's it. And the quartering is like firm handshake. And I'm like, did I read it wrong? Have I misread the apology? Like, is it? And I read it again, and then at the end, I am reminded that the quartering presented a firm handshake. But at least the quartering deleted that. At least he realized, oh shit, Macron is not going to delete shit. Macron is proud of it. So fucking weird. I will give Quartering the benefit of the doubt because I know Dr. Disrespect edited the post. So the word minor was edited. So like maybe the Quartering didn't see the word minor. Again, like he deleted it. So like he's taking it back, which is like, okay, maybe that's not his statement. But like the vibe is there, you know, like you see someone doing the worst performance ever. And you have Macron, oh, firm handshake. Oh, good job, my good man. You made France proud. It's like, and everything is a constant failure. Like keeping the athletes hungry. You know, okay, maybe you like justifying that now it's part of French culture to humiliate Christianity. Okay. But why are you keeping people hungry? The communists are in power for literally 5 minutes and food doesn't go around. Like, oh my fucking god, you have the best communists in the world in France. I don't know how they do it. It usually takes them at least a couple of years. Like, usually the country runs out of inertia from the economic prosperity of capitalism before the commies come in. And it takes them a couple of years before starvation happens. But, like, congratulations, France. You managed to get the best communists there are. You can't feed the fucking people. Just feed the people. Why is it so hard? They also apparently no this is the maybe they studied China's century of humiliation and they're trying to reproduce that, but the British team had to bring their own chef because when they could feed the people they were giving them raw meat. Apparently you can't really play football if you're shitting your pants. Macron said after he was first elected, there is no French culture, there are only cultures in France. Well, actually, Gojira managed to display a very good example of French culture. Now, I don't know how much of it I'm going to show, because they are striking down almost everything. So, I'm going to do my best in order to show a little bit. But it is actually a masterpiece of cinema. Now again, you guys will have to squint your eyes because this video is being taken down from the internet, right? So like they don't want people to see it. I can't even show it in its entirety. But you get to see, right? Like it's a mountain of corpses, and on top of it you have the French people that are flying the French flag, Liberté. And behind them is, I think, the Bastille, right? But it is like an example of the French Revolution. And then you have Marie Antoinette, and she is doing the song. And again, like, a lot of people thought that this is satanic. But this one actually is not. Like, the French actually did guillotine a lot of people. Like, that is actually part of their culture. And I want to show you the national anthem that the French have. Like, the national anthem would probably get you struck for hate speech under most social media's terms of service. I'm even surprised that they're allowed to keep it. Let me see if I can find the English translations. It's called the Marseille. Listen to this shit. I'm willing to bet a Democrat from the United States would say that it's Nazism. But this is the actual anthem, right? Like, this is what the French people are singing. And I heard once that they were singing it to Macron, and everyone was freaking out. It's like, and I'm like, okay, why would they freak out if the national anthem is sung to the national president? And then I read the anthem, and I'm like, oh, okay. Let's go, children of the fatherland. The day of glory has arrived. Against us tyranny's bloody flag is raised. In the countryside, do you hear the roaring of these fierce soldiers? They come right to our arms, to slit the throats of our sons, our friends. Grab your weapons, citizens, form your battalions. Let us march, let us march. May impure blood water our fields. This horde of slaves, traitors, plotting kings, what do they want? For whom these vile shackles, these long prepared irons? Frenchmen, for us, what an insult. What emotions that must excite. It is that they dare to consider returning to ancient slavery. What these foreign troops would make laws in our home, what these mercenary phalanxes would bring down our proud warriors, Good Lord, by chained hands our bros would beneath the yoke, vile despots would become to the masters of our faith. Yeah, no, it's a very, very powerful anthem, isn't it? Tremble, tyrants, and you traitors, the disgrace of all groups. Tremble, your parricidal plans will finally pay the price. Everyone is a soldier to fight you. France will make more ready to battle you. This is the French anthem. Like, this is the actual French anthem, right? Like, this is not something that used to be sung and then it was taken away. No. This is the current, actual, genuine French anthem. I can't sing. I don't have a singing voice. Fuck off. Anyway. When you see the money, like, when you understand that this is the actual French mythos, and it's part of their culture and heritage, this actually makes sense, right? Like, this imagery makes sense. Again, the problem that people have is that it was heavy metal at an event such as the Olympics. Heavy metal is not a genre of music that most people can get behind. Most people find it satanic, and especially people who aren't French and they do not understand what the French culture is like. Seeing this looks really bad, right? So, like, someone looking at this from Eastern Europe, not understanding French history and looking at it, especially after you have a mockery of the Last Supper, after you have a naked man dancing, after you have another man dressed like a woman doing sensual dancing, after you have a man on a pale horse riding, you put this, yeah, it's going to be tainted. It's going to be tainted, and it's really bad because the performance was excellent, the message was nice, it actually felt French. I actually do know the history of the Frenchmen, and this was genuinely 100% French. But, again, completely tainted by everything else. It's not going to get the prestige that it should have gotten. It's not going to get the same praise that is worthy. It was a cinematic masterpiece. It was very difficult to pull off. I absolutely adored it. But unfortunately, many people will not feel the way I felt. It's dark and satanic. Well, I suppose I understand why you'd say it's satanic, but French history is dark. The history of Marie Antoinette is very tragic. And if you listen to the lyrics, you would understand what it is. Now you can say it's satanic because it's heavy metal. However, it is French. Like, I'm sorry to say this. I like the mockery of the Last Supper. I like the naked people dancing. I like the guy with the ball sack hanging next to kids. Like, I like all of that. Gojira actually did French nationalism justice. I know that normies don't like heavy metal, but would you do? Either do elevator music or ignore the old conservatives and go with some pop and hip-hop thing. Well, okay, listen. I am a fan of heavy metal. I love heavy metal, but I do understand that it's such a thing as general audience. And don't give me that bullshit elevator music crap. Right? Like, if you put classic music, if you made like a French opera, if you make something that's historically French, you're not going to offend anyone. It's not elevator music. It's still quality. And you can express the exact same message, but in a way that's more palatable for kids. Believe it or not, Jimmy may not want to see a decapitated Marie Antoinette, even if it's part of French culture. Their parents don't understand it. And the Olympics is not just for France. Like the thing with the Olympics, why do nations really want the Olympics there? They want the tourism, right? So the Olympics is a chance for the nation state to show the world why that nation is great. Most people don't know anything about, I mean, they know that France exists, they know they were an empire, but they don't actually know how France is like. And their opportunity to present that to the rest of the world is to have the Olympics and present France in a way that the French government wants France to be seen by the rest of the world. This is what every single country does with the Olympics. This is what Britain did. This is what China did. This is what every single nation, even Greece, Every single nation is doing this with the Olympics. It's a chance to show their culture, to show their heritage, to tell the world, hey, maybe you want to come visit. Maybe you want to bring your fat wallets here, do some tourism, give us some cash, because it's a great place, right? Now, if you're going to show the world bloodbath and heavy metal, maybe you're going to attract some tourists, but I don't think you're going to be that lucky. Meanwhile, China, for instance, got 2,000, yes, like 2,000 people to beat drums on a Chinese theme. Like, that was really badass and awesome, and it didn't involve any blood, gore, or anything like that. The thing is, like, a lot of Americans... Alright, let me explain to you. Because it seems that people in the chat don't get it. A lot of Americans are completely desensitized to fictional violence. And this is because of video games, TV shows, right? So, like, if you see a decapitated Marie Antoinette, you think it's fine. Because you're used to violence in video games. I mean, you watch The Boys, probably. You're used to it. Most people aren't used to it. Most people, especially in Eastern Europe, they still look at violence and they think that there is something fucking wrong with you if you enjoy that. If you look at old ladies in Romania, they will think necromancy, okay? Just so you can understand the comparison, like, let me think what freaks out Americans a lot. Okay, sexuality, right? Like, sexuality freaks Americans out, especially if it's underage. So imagine if you had Gargura there pole dancing, right? Imagine how abhorred and shocked you would be. And that is literally how people in Eastern Europe and in other parts of the world are viewing this violence. Like, your culture is not the center of the universe. Other people view their culture differently. So imagine if the Olympics were in Japan, and you would have like an underage anime girl doing lewd stuff on a stage, right? The Japanese would be like, well, what's wrong with it? But the Americans would be horrified, and the Europeans would be as well, right? So you try to avoid this level of cultural shock. You try to avoid the things that you know for sure are going to be unpalatable in other parts of the world, even if it's fine where you're at. Even if where you're at it's permissible and acceptable, you do not want to post that on a big stage, right? Like the Chinese, they're not going to get dogs at the Olympics and show how they're being slaughtered and eaten, right? Because they know that other people in the world are going to be abhorred by that. Even if in their culture they may do it, even if it's okay to do it there, they do not want to present that to the rest of the world at an event like the Olympics. Does that make any fucking sense? I don't know how else to explain it. How do you have fiction then? Well, you can have fiction but for a restricted audience. Like, there is nothing wrong with having a subgenre that is supposed to stay fringe. So, like, heavy metal is one of these examples. Like, heavy metal is fine if it stays fringe, right? I like heavy metal. I like that performance of Gojira, but I understand why grandma doesn't. Now, if you were to show me some classical French music, I would have liked it, and grandma would have liked it. So why not go with that? It's not fucking rocket science. Stop trying to get your hobbies to be mainstream. You don't even want that to happen. Like, trust me, it's a bad thing when a hobby goes mainstream. It's actually better when it's fringe. The perfect example, okay, spicy food. I absolutely love spicy food. I went on a journey to try the spiciest pepper. I got all the way up to Carolina Reaper. I actually ate the Carolina Reaper. I really like it, right? I like eating spicy food. But that doesn't mean that I think everyone should eat it. Like, if you go to a big event, if you go to a place where, I don't know, there's like a feast and a big gathering, right? A wedding or something like that, and you serve people the spiciest food imaginable. Now, I like spicy food, and other people like spicy food, of course, but you are going to have guests that are going to puke. You are going to have guests that are going to be sick. Now, the argument can't be, oh, so like all the food shouldn't be spicy, or you don't want anything to season your food with, blah, blah, blah. Like, come on, you know what's going on, all right? Like, you know what you did. Just stop it. It's fine if you eat it yourself with other people that like to eat spicy food. Do not put it in a general audience theme, because they're not going to enjoy it. They'll get Pikachu face when people are like, yeah, shit, these peppers are super hot. Like, V, are you trying to poison me? Christopher Keating, La Trieur was quite satanic, but there's more to French culture than that. They didn't need to do that, but they wanted to make the far right angry. Well, the far right actually does like heavy metal. I don't think if they would get angry from that. I don't know if Gojira tried to get people angry. It is true though, like there is a lot more to French culture than the revolution. I'm not against them like trying to promote the revolution. Again, it's fine with the heavy metal and everything like that, but I do understand where the criticism is coming from, and I also understand that it is tainted after all the shit that they showed before that. Should have had Rammstein sing the anthem. Oh, but it's not just Rammstein. Dude, they had the Snoop Dogg. Now, from my understanding, Snoop Dogg is a person that's renowned for taking drugs, okay? Now, again, you need to view this as an international world stage event. People from Japan are insanely sensitive to any type of substance abuse. Like, in Japan, if you want to get super canceled, you need to say or to be exposed that you did drugs. If they find out that that is the case, they will remove you from the fucking internet. So there have been celebrities that were caught doing drugs, whether legal or illegal. Like, for instance, they would travel to California and they would smoke pot or whatever the fuck. And when that happened, they would get fired from their agency. The agency would remove every mention of them ever existing. And the shows and episodes where that actor has shown up would be unavailable for sale. Right? So again, it's a different culture. Like in America, it's fine. In America, if you're a celebrity and it's caught that you're doing drugs, depending on what you did, you may go to prison. But then when you come out, no one gives a shit, right? In Japan, they're really, really freaking out about it. So when you have a rapper like Snoop Dogg, who is renowned for doing that, how do you think the Japanese are going to view it? Because again, like, it's international, right? Like, you're trying to please everyone. And for some fucking reason, other countries have managed. Like, there was no controversy with China. There was no controversy with Britain. There was no controversy with Greece. Like, all the other countries that had the Olympics before, they managed to have a sensible and decent Olympics full of decorum. Because that was the thing, right? Like, it's of decorum and a way to behave without looking like a cheeky little shit to the world stage. It's possible, and you can still have a great event. Right? Again, you need to look at the targeted audience. It should be PG-13. But no, they have Snoop Dogg singing raps like with the word motherfucker in it. Why would you do that? Nightmare says metal is based, hip-hop rap is cringe. They shouldn't have hip-hop or rap either. They should have had like a classical French song. Okay, let me show you what Greece was doing. Let me see if I have it. Again, I don't know if I can show these things without getting a strike. But I want to show you, like, the opening from the Greek Olympic. So you can make a comparison. Right. So this is from the Greek Olympic, which was, I think, like 12 years ago. Right? Just classical music. And you have, like, all these people that are sitting like statues, but they're moving in a very artistic way. It looks really nice. It's an homage to where the Olympics came from. Right? Who's getting upset from this? No one. Does it look artistic? Yes. Does it look great? Yes. Why can't they do something like that? Are they incapable? I will tell you what a Japanese person said about the French Olympics. He's my translator for my video game. Give me 1 second. I'll tell you what he said. The Olympic opening ceremony. The quality was amazing, but it was a shame that it lacked class. I don't know how Japanese people are able to say something that makes you look so fucking bad. You know, like, they don't use curse words when they talk. Like, I noticed this with Japanese people. They don't look curse words. They do not take a position of moral superiority. but it makes you feel ashamed. Like if you actually internalize what they're saying and you listen to them, you feel like shit if you're responsible, right? So I'll just repeat it. Like I showed him the French opening ceremony, and he's like, the Olympic opening ceremony. The quality was amazing, but it was a shame that it lacked class. Yeah, no, the quality was amazing. I mean, the cinematography of the Gojira thing, you can't complain, dude. I don't think you actually got to see the whole thing. But this one, hold on. Like, even people are saying that these 26 seconds are cinema, are masterpieces in cinema directing, right? I think it's like from the La Miserable, right? And then it zooms, like, look at this. It says Liberté, and then it zooms in all the way here, and it shows the Marie Antoinette head, and then it zooms all the way out, and you have, like, the fireworks and shit. Like, come on, no, this is quality. Like, you may not like the piece, but I'm willing to bet if I put you in charge, even after, like, getting 4 years of university to learn how to do this shit, it won't come out as good. Like, the synchronization, the cinematography, the colors, like, all of that, no, like, it looked really great. La Miserable was a horrible movie. Well, look, I understand the difference between subjective and objective. When it's a name that is renowned around the world, when people around, like, you can go to Africa and you can ask them about La Miserable and they will probably tell you what it's about, then I can say, no, maybe I don't like it, sure. Like, maybe it's not for me, but it's a good shit. Like, if your production manages to go around the world, you did something right. High quality trash. Yeah, I think that's what the Japanese was trying to express, but in more friendly language. It is high quality, but it lacks class, yes. Class is really important, and more with the history regions from pre-revolution and post-revolution France. Why not try to like the history of France from the early Roman Franks in France? I don't fucking know, man. I think, like, the purpose was to be antagonistic. That's the only explanation that I can have. Did I miss a super chat? No. Alright. It's kind of annoying because I'll probably talk tomorrow on This Week in Stupid if we decide to do it. And it's still going to be the Olympics. Yeah, I can't show the picture with the testicles on YouTube, so I do thank you, Mr. Snake. I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to show what's under the snake, but no. Even censored, I wouldn't. Japanese would also never brutally say something is bad, even if they feel something is awful. Thank you, Altanar Darvish. I appreciate the niceties. Did you hear about the YouTuber in Nebraska who actually made a train derail and crash into a transport car for views? Yes. And my statement was the same consistently. I'm for free speech, okay? I think that you shouldn't be banned from a platform if you do something that's not illegal. With that out of the way, people who pull pranks in public is one of the exceptions that I'm willing to give in to, right? So, like, it's not just derailing a train, which obviously is a crime, and unfortunately, some people are stupid enough not to realize that that's going to fuck their life, and that guy is probably going to be in prison for the next 7 years or so. But even people that just do random pranks to harass others, even if it's not illegal, I would say they should get banned too. And the reason for it is that they're doing this because of the incentive, right? Because of the super chats, because of the dopamine. They like to pull this shit. And I put myself into the position of the person just minding their own business, walking around the street when some cheeky little shit that's a streamer comes up to me and bothers me. Like Sneeko, for instance, right? No, sorry, not Sneeko, my bad. I Show Speed, right? I Show Speed goes and screams in front of a baby. Now, I Show Speed has like this shtick of self-deprecating humor, where he will get on his fours and bark at a dog, where he's going to yell in public and act like a spaz, right? Like that's his shtick, and that's what gives him money. But he goes and yells at a baby, and the baby starts crying, right? And your guy, like, it's funny to watch it, right, as entertainment, but it's not funny if you're the father. So why would I want to live in a society where people are coming up to me and yelling at my baby to cause distress just so they can get super chats? How is that fair to the person, right? It shouldn't. So no, like, fuck it. Get them banned. I will give them props to I Show Speed. He actually did apologize, right? But like, he was in the zone. He was in the streamer moment. Like, he was streaming in his mind. So like, that was acceptable at the time. But yeah, it is funny. Now, I'm not going to say it's not funny, because there are thousands of people laughing, right? Just because I don't find it funny doesn't mean that it's not fucking funny. If it wasn't funny, they wouldn't have subscribers. Let's get fucking real here. Let's stop moralizing and just analyze the world for what it is. If someone does some shit and people watch it and they give super chats, they do it because it is funny. You don't find it funny, they do, right? I don't give a shit if it's funny or not. That's my point. I don't care. It is a menace. I don't want more Johnny Somalis. I want less Johnny Somalis. I don't want... what was his name? Fuck, I forgot. There was another gentleman. The one from Britain. Anyway, I even added a person like that in my game. I even added a streamer like that in my video game as an NPC, just so he can die. I really dislike the type of people that pull these pranks on innocent bystanders. Right, where, like for instance, you had this lady, Mitzi, yeah, fucking Mitzi. Like you have this lady with a dog, and Mitzi or Mitzo comes in, picks the dog and pretends to steal it. Right? Now, that's not a crime, but he causes distress to the lady. And I'm thinking, like, what if that was my grandmother? Why would I want her to get distressed? Now, Mitzo himself probably doesn't want her to distress, but it's financially incentivized. Like, even if you demonetize them, they still get the fame, they still get the dopamine. So no, like, that is one of the things that I do think you should get banned for. I saw on Kick, right? I saw on Kick, and I'm not blaming Kick for being a bad platform. I'm blaming Twitch for banning everyone to the point where Kick has to exist. But there was like this event on Kick where you had a lady, you know, a beautiful ushikushi lady, plump ass, big tits, asking a homeless person to jump in the lake. And apparently the homeless person had mental issues. It was another plump lady. And she actually does jump into the lake. And it's funny, it's hilarious, because it causes a big splash. You know, you have like this morbidly obese person jumping in the lake, and it's funny. But then the person says she can't swim. Now question, like she basically says, look, I can only float. I don't know how to swim. Now, if this happens, what would you do? If it happened to me, I tell you what I would do. First of all, I wouldn't be in that situation. But secondly, let's assume that I have somehow got placed into the shoes of that lady after she did the stupid thing, right? You stop streaming, and either you go, like, if you can't help, if you can't swim yourself, and she probably couldn't, because, like, that lady was morbidly obese. Like, she was really, really... Let me put it this way. The social media influencer wouldn't have the body strength to pull her out, right? Unless she was Xena Warrior Princess, and probably not even then. So what you do is you either get help, you call 911. There was like a store next to it. They might have had some life raft or some shit. You throw that in. Like that. The last thing you do is what this kick lady did. She just ran away. She just ran away. And I'm like, dude, that's attempted murder. That you are not going to get a jury that's going to not unanimously convict you of attempted murder. Fuck are you doing? And they live stream it. And they were laughing. And I'm like, yeah, no shit. Maybe that shouldn't be banned though. Maybe that shouldn't be banned because it needs to be used as evidence in court. So yeah, I am for free speech, but yeah, okay, there are some limits. Sure, this is one of them. Yeah, there was literally a riverside restaurant behind them that had lifesavers. Yeah. Yeah, the woman was drowning and they ran off while live streaming. While live fucking streaming. Like, how insane is that? At what point did they think, oh, this is what the world wants to see? Even people in the chat were shocked. And I'm willing to bet, like, someone called 911 because immediately as they ran away, like, the ambulance was coming in. So probably someone from the chat had enough common sense and soul to try to save that lady. She didn't die, by the way. Negligent homicide. No, because she actually encouraged and asked the person to jump, right? So like she's responsible. So you're asking the person to commit the crime, and then you refuse to give help because the person trusts that you would help them after you jump. I don't know if there's any state that doesn't have some legislation against that. Even if it wouldn't be attempted murder, it would be classified as something. You still go to prison. The authorities can just subpoena kick for the livestream VOD. No, that's true, but like it's usually a lot better if the VOD is still public, because then more people get to see it. I wonder if there would be prosecution if the woman had died. Probably. I mean, it's not. It wouldn't be a hard case. It would most likely be an open and shut because you have the video evidence, the footage. Like everything is documented. They don't even need to bring any sort of forensics on the side to figure out what happened. Are you saying that the streamer had the fiduciary duty? Yeah, I'm saying you shouldn't tell people to jump in a lake. How about that? You shouldn't tell homeless people to jump in a lake. No. That's like the first fuck up. The second fuck up, if they do jump because you told them to, and then they're telling you they can't swim, yeah, you're supposed to call 911 at least. At the very least, if you can't swim yourself, you should call 911, yeah. I don't think it would count as a murder unless you can prove the streamer didn't know they could swim. Well, they were told the moment the person jumped in the water. They're like, help, I can't swim. You can't just leave. Lolling at V adding a streamer character in his game that gets killed off. Yeah. It's an NPC which goes to the hotel in order to film paranormal investigations, and he actually says that he knows there isn't anything paranormal, but he just goes there in order to get some clout, and he's trespassing. He actually tries to trespass in order to get the footage, and he gets into a little bit of trouble. So yeah, it's something that I added just for the lulz. To be fair, the French Revolution is satanic. I think the French Revolution gave rise to the three major ideologies that we get to see after World War I. So you have liberté, which is liberalism. It's the ideology that the United States also has. You have fraternité, which is fascism. And you have equalité, which is communism. So if you actually trace communism, fascism, and you look at the roots of the ideology, you will see that many of them actually started inspiring themselves from the French Revolution. So that is actually an interesting connection to be had there. And it's also quite funny because they didn't care about the optics at all. It was The terror, they called it. Not the red terror. I think it's just the terror, the year of terror or something like that. I forgot. I read the history a long time ago. I remember some of the basics, but some of the names elude me. The revolution was a mistake. Not really, because I kind of understand why it happens. It's very difficult for the peasant to internalize that they're miserable and they're hungry and they're starving and their children are sent to war while the aristocrats are partying and they're happy and all of that shit, right? So if you look at history and you look at some of the great leaders, you will notice that what they do is when the people are starving, they don't take feasts. They don't display wealth. When the people are starving, they're also pretending to do bad as well. It shows solidarity. It's something in the mind of the person that like goes, okay, well, I'm starving, he's starving as well. You know, we're all in this together. But when you create an us versus them, where the nobility is gorging themselves and they're partying and they're enjoying life, and the peasantry is starving, that's when you get the French Revolution. Like every revolution, it went too far. Yeah, usually, you don't want to live in interesting times. There have been very few revolutions that actually improved the life of citizens. The French Revolution caused the reign of terror, and it finally ended with Napoleon. So by the time you get Napoleon, and even when you get Napoleon, you get wars, and you get war misery. So yeah, it's, you know, we actually live in one of the best historical times if you think about it. Like if you're lucky to be born in the United States right now, or anywhere outside of Russia and Ukraine, and the Middle East, then you're probably enjoying a life much better than most people had throughout human history. If the peasants are communist weasels, then perhaps they deserve to be oppressed. Look, I'm not against oppressing the peasants. You can clip me on this, right? Like, if we're talking about what causes stability, oppressing the peasants is not causing instability. What causes instability is showing the peasants that the nobility is wealthy and they're well off and happy while the peasants are starving and miserable. That's what causes instability. So oppress the peasants all you want, just don't flounder your wealth in front of them. It's not fucking rocket science. It's pretty much what's happening now with the environmentalism shit. And it's like, oh yeah, you need to make sure you don't have AC. Just turn off your air conditioner. Don't have air conditioning. And then you see like all the people lecturing you, going around in private yachts, having AC in their rooms, living in mansions and villas. Just how much that higher quality of life is just from technology or economic development. Accounting for that, we were much better 20 or 30 years ago. Yeah, well, when I say now, I mean like the current timeline we're in. Depends. Like in some countries it was worse 20 and 30 years ago. In other parts it was better. I do agree though that, yeah, overall the quality of life and happiness was better back then than it is now. It's also something interesting when I think like Sarga was telling leftists, it's like the Amish are happy. And it's like, well, how they can be happy? They have no technology. And it's like, yeah, but like that's the thing, you know, like the happiness index. Like, what makes a fulfilling life? And for some people, being addicted to technology is not necessarily causing them to be happy. And for the Amish, for instance, not having technology seems to lead happier lives. Now, I gotta point out that the Amish are also becoming technologically advanced. They realize they have to use internet. So if you actually study on this, the Amish are using internet at their workplace. So they are, some of them, not all of them, right? Because there's like different denominations of Amishes. But from what I understand, the more progressive Amishes, they do allow the use of internet, but only work related. So you cannot use it for fun. You know, they don't play video games. They don't stay to chat. They don't do any of that. But to keep the accounting and like stuff that require like making orders and purchases and shit like that, they do use the internet for that. Now, whether they violate it or not, I don't know. Like, they could have a computer at work and do whatever they want on it. But fulfillment and satisfactions are better than happiness and pleasures. Well, yeah, the question is, like, were people more fulfilled and satisfied back then than they are now? And in some degrees, I think they are. I don't think the birth rates necessarily translate into fulfillment and happiness. I think, like, yeah, there is this thing where when people are rich, they have less kids, and when people are poor, they have more. And it comes like a wave, right? Because as time goes on, people become rich and wealthy, they have less kids, and after a while, because they have less kids, the economy goes to shit, and they become poor. So when they become poor, they have more kids again. Mennonites use technology. I see them in Walmart all the time in Maryland. Yeah. Like, some of them, they started using technology. But there are other sects of Amish that still do not use any technology. Well, actually, like, speaking about birth rates and shit, there was a conversation between Sneeko and Critical Moist. I don't follow any of them. But I do know that the comment section is very interesting. Very interesting. Because at some point, Sneeko, which is a Muslim, said that he would be fine if the age of marriage was lowered to 15. Right? So, like, the age of consent for marriage was lowered to 15. And the liberals that are for multiculturalism and they love diversity, they started calling Sneeko a pedophile. Now, when I looked at my country in Romania, the age of consent for marriage is 15, with the caveat, of course, of Romeo and Juliet laws. So they're referring to two people that are 15 and 16 wanting to get married. The law allows it. And when I looked at it, it's true for most of Europe. Usually the age is around 16. Juliet laws, right? So you can't have like a 16 marry a 35. It's between kids themselves, basically. Like, you don't want to imprison someone because, the alternative, because this is what, like, liberals don't like to think, but the alternative would be if two 16-year-olds have sex and one of them gets pregnant, you put them both in prison, right? Like, that is what they think should happen in a decent society. Unfortunately, Eastern Europe is a little bit backwards, so the legislation is different. But that's like the first conversation, the first part of conversation with Sneeko. And then Sneeko asks Critical Moist, do you think that if a 3-year-old wants to get gender assignment care, do you think that is something that should happen or no? And Critical Moist goes like, oh, well, yeah, of course, if everyone consents. And like, the word consent is literally the problem here, right? Because when it comes to minors, the reason it is illegal for anything sexual is because they cannot consent, right? So, like, if they're between 16 or 18, doesn't matter, they cannot consent. But what Critical Moist is saying, well, actually, yeah, the Charlie and Sneeko debate was such a shit show. Two kids in high school dating. One of them turns 18. Yeah, like the Romeo and Juliet laws, in my opinion, are something that is required because otherwise you reach levels of absurdity. Like let's assume that 16 is the age of consent, which is true for most European countries, right? So you have like two of them, let's say a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and they're both 15. Now, we're not talking from like social reasons, if you're okay with it or not. Let's just say it's actually happening, right? So like two 15-year-olds are in high school and they're dating. One of them becomes 16 and the other one is still 15. Should the 16 now be in prison? Like, that makes no sense to me, which is why Romeo and Juliet laws say that if the age is close enough, usually like 1 or 2 years, or they will be like, okay, well, if the age is close enough that they don't go to prison. I think that's more common sense. I don't know, but like, I'm curious how America does it. I don't read the legislation in American states, but I think it's ridiculous to arrest minors when you're trying to protect minors. And take into account that prison isn't the only thing that is disincentivizing it from happening. Like, they should have parents, they have school teachers, they have counselors. Like, there's other ways besides like making sure that they go to prison. So we're not talking about like a grown adult with a minor. Like, obviously not. Right? No doctor disrespect. No. But we're talking like two minors that happen to date. Right? Like, should they be in prison? Should they be arrested? I don't think so. But yeah, like, when you go and you watch how liberals think, they have their talking points, and they don't think for themselves that any deviation from the talking point is considered immoral. Right? So they don't think, they're like, no, what Sneeko is saying, oh, are you for pedophilia? And it's like, no, but like, you're basically implying that if two 17-year-olds get married, they should be in prison. That's what you're saying. And I think that's ridiculous. I think it's batshit insane. I'm sorry. No. I'm not sure what the US does. Many couples in my area in the later teenage. Well, you gotta understand, like, a lot of extremism is happening online right now. Like, there are a lot of women, especially, that are pushing for this, who are in their 35s or their 40s, and they're very salty that they have no boyfriend, or at least they can't get a relationship. So, they look at someone like that actor, what the fuck is his name? Leonardo DiCaprio, right? And Leonardo DiCaprio is constantly dating women that are around the age of 20. And the moment they get 25, he dumps them and he dates another 20-year-old, right? And they try to imply that he's a pedophile because of that. And I'm like, no, sorry, he's not. Now you can make the argument that the age difference makes it weird, which it does. But in Romania, we actually shame the woman. We don't shame the man. We shame the woman for being a gold digger. Because there is no reason for a woman to go with a Leonardo DiCaprio at his current age unless she is lusting for his cash. But like, a lot of these women, they have the image of Leonardo DiCaprio when he was younger, and they're probably upset. It's like, why isn't he dating me? And why is he dating the 20-year-old superstar? And it's like, well, because she is the 20-year-old superstar, right? So like, oh, the age difference is big. Yeah, but it's between adults. And what I find it interesting is that they don't put the blame on the woman, which is also a consenting adult, and they put all the blame on Leonardo DiCaprio for dating it, when it requires two people. But they're kind of implying that a 20-year-old woman cannot consent, which is very bizarre. Somehow, despite the hookup culture, the rate of virginity is rising, as well as the number of people with no friends, both men and women, but mostly men. Yeah, it's the dating apps. I 100% blame the dating apps and the Me Too culture. Like, the Me Too culture, before Me Too culture, I remember like around, there was a study showing that more than 40% of relationships were done at the workplace, right? So like, people that got married and they got hooked up, they done so at the workplace. However, after Me Too culture, the number dropped significantly because like, no one wants to risk their career and relationship by trying to date a woman at the workplace and her calling human resources. So that was one strike. The other strike is like the Gillette commercial, right? Like, that's the culture. You're not supposed to pick up women on the street. You're not supposed to pick up women anywhere, at the gym. So the only place you can pick them up at the club, but like, most of the time when you pick up women at the club, they're not very serious about a relationship. So the only remaining factor is dating apps. Now the problem with dating apps is that before dating apps, and I can tell you how it was like when I was younger, if you wanted to date someone, you had a very small circle of friends, and you would hope that one of them can recommend you a lady that they know. So you get into a relationship with this lady, and you really care about the relationship because you know that if it breaks, it's going to be very difficult for you and for her to find someone else. Because most people at the point, they start making their own relationships, everyone is taken, etc., etc. So, with dating apps, all of that goes away. With dating apps, it's like going to the supermarket and ordering a product. You look at the person, oh, you like him, okay, now you're with him. So you hook up, you have sex, and after that, if the relationship doesn't work, if you have a small argument or they just get bored, They ghost the guy, they find someone else. So now, if you had like a beautiful lady from your town, like from Arkansas, well, she was like the most beautiful lady from the Arkansas town. But now with dating apps, you're not just competing with the other people from the town of Arkansas. You're competing with the whole fucking world. And the competition is like, okay, you're a young man that is still going to high school, or you're maybe moving out and you're going to university, but you got no house, you got no car, you got no money, you got nothing, right? And you're now competing with people that have a career, have a job, they have 2 cars, they have an apartment, they have a dog. Like, how are you going to compete with that, right? Now, the interesting thing is that you actually do want the relationship. You actually do want to find a significant other. But the guy with the apartment and the dog, he just wants to fuck, right? Now, what's interesting is that the ladies, they don't know the intentions, right? Because the guy is going to tell them, oh yeah, like I absolutely loves them and he's interested in them. So like all of them are going to go for the top 5% men. And all of them are unhappy because the 5% men don't actually want the relationship. Like they're also swarmed with women. They have a lot of choice. So they're just jumping from woman to woman. Because that's what like men who have options do. And the guys that are at the bottom or the middle, they're not getting anything. So they're still virgins. And that is the problem, I think, is the dating apps. How do you solve the problem? I have no fucking idea. Because even if you don't use the dating apps, the women do. Right? So, it is what it is. Yeah, the dating apps, as people on the internet like to say, are causing hoeflation. And it's also the divorces as well. It's like, okay, like marriage is the only contract where you can win money for breaking it. I don't think there's any other contract in the history of mankind where if you make a vow and you sign a contract, you can actually win money by purposefully breaking the contract. I don't know how that makes sense, but like, okay, imagine this situation. Imagine you're a 20-year-old woman who's got absolutely no wealth. You're not homeless, you're living with your parents, but you're good looking, right? So you marry Elon Musk, right? And when you marry Elon Musk, you swear that you will be with him until death does you apart. Like, that is the contract. No one is forcing you to sign it, but you're signing it, right? Okay, fine. You stay with Elon Musk married for 3 years, and then Elon Musk doesn't do anything wrong. Doesn't cheat on you, doesn't abuse you, doesn't do anything wrong. You file for a no-fault divorce. Congratulations, you're now a millionaire. How the fuck does that make any logical sense? Can anyone explain to me? Right? So, the incentive, like the financial incentive, if you're a shrewd, cynical, cold, calculated Eastern European person, is to get a divorce. Like, the incentive is not to stay married. The incentive is to get divorces. So, when you have a financial incentive, people will take it. Now the reason this wasn't the case in the past is because people believed in God. So it was, you made a vow in front of God, like you promised God that you're not going to get a divorce, and you don't want to disappoint God. You don't want to, right? Like that was the idea back then. So people were less likely to divorce. In fact, my own grandparents, they had their ups and downs. There's a lot of telenovela and drama into my family, but they worked it out. You know, if they would have divorced, I would probably not be here. And they did went through some bad times, but eventually they worked it out. So I think those are the problems. It's not what the likes like to say. Oh, it's pornography. Oh, it's this and that. They will just say, They will just fail to acknowledge that the real problem is the dating app. And by the way, if you look at some of the countries with high fertility rates, they don't have dating apps. They don't. And they don't have like this divorce law where you can get more money if you're incentivized to divorce in order to make more money. Like that doesn't exist. The conditions are made by the state. The dating apps aren't. But yeah, the divorce is made by the state. Sure. A neighbor of mine married a hot Brazilian single mother. 6 months in, she had him kicked out of his house and homeless with a false DV accusation. Yeah. If I was American, I wouldn't have married. I even told this to my wife. It's like, look, in Romania we have different legislation. It's not perfect, but I'm willing to take the risk. Because when you go to law school, you see a lot of shit. It's not misogyny. It's law school. It's worse than misogyny. But still, in Romania, they force you to wait 1 year. So, like, if you want to file a divorce, you gotta wait 1 year. You have situations where the man actually gets more. You can have situations where the man gets the kids. Like here, usually the judge will look at the financial situation and the stability of the parents. So, like, if he's a doctor and she's a drunk, abused, and she's a alcoholic, well, the kids go to the doctor, right? So, like, it depends. It depends. They do lean to give the kids to the mother, but they also look at the age of the child. They also look, like, after a certain age, the child gets asked. They also look at the reputation, the prestige. Like, if any of them commit crimes, then the other person is getting the kid. So it's different. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. Tomorrow I will do This Week is Stupid. Probably gonna talk with Oris about the Olympics. Hopefully you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.